So hello and welcome to another episode of Scenes For Us. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that I introduced in a video a couple of weeks ago, and about why are SLKs worth so little. Now thankfully you guys out there have given me plenty to talk about. There's some new issues that I haven't thought about, and there's also some issues that you guys agree with and some of the points that I brought up in last video. So we're going to go through some of the comments, and yeah, we'll go and have a little chat about why SLKs are worth so little, and hopefully at the end of the video we'll be able to sort of pull out a few sort of points maybe why they aren't worth so much. So our first comment on here is from a guy called Stuart. He's given us a fantastic, very long answer to this. He's also spoke about his car and put a few of the issues into context really, how he's had problems with his car. Now, the long and the short of it is, I'll put his full response on the screen now. So the long and the short of it is that he has had issues with his interior. So I'll read this a little bit out. I find the interior controls very basic. For what is an expensive car when new? By far the worst problem is the dashboard. I had to remove the driver's side dash to investigate a faulty wire, and it absolutely ruined it. Pieces of the dashboard broke off like Easter eggs. No matter how careful you were, age has made it super brittle, and other owners have reported this too. Unfortunately, any replacements on eBay are going to suffer the same fate. That is if you can source them and don't afford one. There is a hidden dash hanger bracket on the right hand side which supports most of the weight of that location. Is made of the same stuff, and where dash screws bite into the material causes oversized holes of no further use. Now that's a very good point actually. I haven't heard of this issue before, but then again I haven't set the dashboard off of my car, so I wouldn't quite know. But it's interesting, you sort of make 2 points there. One about the dashboard itself, and that actually it's made of quite brittle plastic due to the age. He also mentioned about the fact that if you can source parts and if you can then afford them, that again is something I mentioned about in my last video, that actually you really have to pick your battles with parts and whether you go for it new or used. And in this instance you might have to go for new, because obviously used parts might suffer the same fate. So it's interesting there, again, find that balance. This might be one where you have to almost force yourself to buy a new part, but then where would you find a new SLK dashboard? I don't really think anyone would actually make them unless you find a new old stock one or something like that. So Stuart also gives another reason, and that is, mine is the same colour as yours, Stephen. Here is one of the reasons I think they are so cheap. There were so many produced in silver grey and they just don't pop. I was in the budget market, so I could hardly choose a colour. I paid £1,100. But I would have much preferred a red or even yellow or blue. But these colours seem ultra rare. My saving grace is that the lovely red and black interior, which I love. So yeah, that's an interesting point there actually, because most of the SLKs, I'd say half of them are silver, and most of them come with black interior as well. Sometimes you do find them with a blue interior, sometimes you find the red interior, which obviously Stuart's got here, which is very nice. Yeah, it's not exactly the most exciting colour combination. I mean, I'm in the same sort of boat as you. I didn't get any choice in actually choosing my colour. It was this car or nothing, that was it. You know, you can have this car for £500, or you can't have it. One or the other. You can't go, well, I'll have it, but only if it's in red, you know. There wasn't going to be another opportunity like this one coming my way, so I had to sort of make do. However, what I will say is that the silver exterior, the black interior of mine, is the very traditional Mercedes colour combination. I think it looks nice. Admittedly, I've tried to jazz mine up a little bit with the 3-spoke alloys, but I do think that was more me wanting to make it a little bit different and just differentiate it from all the other silver SLKs. Now, I love a silver SLK. I think the car looks really smart. I admit it doesn't pop like maybe some of the other colour combinations that are a bit rarer, but I do think the silver and black still looks a very smart colour combination. So let's have a look at our next comment then. So next one is, I totally agree, they are understated, fun car, hopefully in time they will appreciate more. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I'm agreeing with you, agreeing with me, to be honest. So yeah, thank you very much for commenting. That's a nice, easy one to get through. So next one is from a chap called David. I've enjoyed my year 2000 SLK 320 for 7 years as a summer top-down wind in the hair job. There's no better feeling than that, is there really? Very easy to work on, parts cheap, and has passed every MOT first go. Well, that's very good. Sounds like you've got a good car there. So yeah, I've worked on my SLK a little bit, so the bits that I've done are relatively easy. and I found it as a complete novice actually quite a nice car to work on, to be honest. There are some parts and some things that I still farm out to the garage as an oil change. I probably could do it myself, to be honest. Oil change, I'd love to actually learn how to do it, but I've always worried about what you do with the oil afterwards and all of that sort of stuff. So I'd rather just not get too involved with that, to get a garage to do it for me. Parts are cheap, yeah. Again, I'm not sure which parts you're using, whether new or used, but again, I have spoke about this, and most parts you can either buy new and they're quite reasonable, or you buy them used, and again, they can be quite reasonable in that respect. So thank you for commenting, David. Next one, perceived cost of repairing the rather complex roof is also a factor. People buying 20-plus-year-old cars prefer to be simple. Yes, I quite agree. Obviously, if you're buying an older car, you know it's going to have problems. So the less things on there that can go wrong, probably the better. So yeah, I can sort of understand why that would put people off. And I think also in that, again, what I mentioned last time, not only the things that go wrong, it's the cost, as you've mentioned here, but again, some of the complex stuff in particular. Mercedes parts in general are a little bit more expensive than you would think. And I think if you've got something like the folding roof that goes wrong, that could be quite a simple fix, or it could be quite a complex fix. And when I was actually looking at buying my R170, that was pretty much the first thing that I tested. Does the roof work? Because if not, I probably wouldn't have bothered, to be honest. But the roof worked perfect, went down, went up, and I said that's it. That's the main part of that car. I'm quite pleased with. So yes, thank you again for commenting. So next one is why they rust. The interior plastic is fragile. It's become difficult to find shops capable of doing proper repairs. Some critical parts are no longer available. Soldering on circuit boards is poor. So it's not a difficult car to maintain provided you have your own proper diagnostics. These aren't cheap to buy. However, it's a great little car, but rust really was a major issue. The roof is likely to be problematic with age, and to fix it properly is not cheap, but it can be done in a couple of days. So yeah, it's quite a bit to digest this comment. I think, yeah, first thing we'll dive right into is, yes, they do rust. Mine had rust. If you go back to my original video, you will see that there was obviously rust all around the wheel arches, along the front bump where the bumper meets the wing. So there's rust in the wing where it meets the bumper. Thankfully, I was able to get this sorted. I worked in the motor tray fairly cheaply, but I can see why they get a bad press, because I nipped that in the bud. It wasn't that bad, the rust in my car, but I have seen them quite bad, where there were holes in the wings and holes all around where the sort of wheel arch are, and you think, yeah, that's going to be a white pain to deal with. Once it gets too bad, that's it. There's always a point of no return where you're going to start replacing panels and grinding in new bits of metal and all that sort of stuff. So the interior plastic is fragile. Yes, we've just one of the other comments. Yeah, I never quite knew it was such an issue actually until people started mentioning it in this video, so I've definitely learned something new there. It's becoming difficult to find capable shops of doing proper repairs now. Yes, I can sort of understand this because it is an older car. I know from my own diagnostic, we'll come on to diagnostic in a minute, you actually have to buy a special adapter that plugs it under the engine bay as opposed to the OBD2 port, which a lot more modern cars have, which is normally underneath where the driver's side steering wheel is. So yeah, some critical parts are no longer available. Again, this is why we mentioned before with stuff like dashboards. Would you be able to get one of those? No, probably not. You'd have to look for a very rare off chance of it being a new old stock part. But you might have to alternatively go on the second-hand route again with a lot of these parts. So it's not a difficult car to maintain provided you own your own proper diagnostics, but these aren't cheap. But I've bought a very cheap little diagnostic machine. It's not overly that good. It's not that in-depth. It's sort of, I use it more for just looking at the problem and seeing, can I get a code from it? But again, you can spend so much more on diagnostic machines, and if you are going to work on the car a lot more maybe I am, it probably would be worth it, to be honest. So it's a great little car, but rust really was a major issue. Yeah, we just discussed. So the roof is problematic with age. Yeah, I quite agree with that, to be honest. Someone else has already mentioned that as well. Again, it's perceived problems that might be quite expensive to fix that are putting people off. To fix it properly is not cheap, but can be done in a couple of days. Yeah, so again, sort of mentioning the roof there. So yes, I quite agree with all those points that are very good points that you've raised. So final comment. is that they are not cool. Now, I'm in two minds about this comment, because I think what's cool and what is uncool is just your own perception, is your own opinion. However, I can also understand that that might be the perception of SLKs, because they aren't seen to be in the same sort of ballpark almost as Z3s and TTs and Boxers, which are a lot more sort of driver focused, whereas the SLK is a bit more of a cruiser, it's a bit more laid back. And I quite like that in a car. Again, that's just my own opinion. So I'm sort of in two minds here about this comment. I can sort of see where you're coming from in the wider picture of things, how people perceive the SLK to be against its competitors. But for the people like me that own the cars, absolutely love them. So I think, again, I'm sort of with two minds about that comment, really. Yeah, I think it probably is a factor, to be fair to you. So thank you very much for all those people that have commented on the video. Can we now sort of diagnose why SLKs are so cheap? And I think there's sort of four main issues here. So first of all is the fact that they are getting older now. They obviously are going to suffer with issues, and some of these issues, for example with the roof, might be quite complicated and quite expensive to get fixed. And that's the next point, is parts. Obviously I've mentioned this before. Now parts are quite can be quite expensive. You might not also be able to get the parts from manufacturing. Sometimes you might need a new part rather than going for a used part as well. So the next part of this is also going to be the rust. They do suffer with rust quite a bit. Obviously other cars suffered rust in this time period as well, but the SLKs and generally Mercs of that era, sort of 90s, early 2000s, did suffer quite badly with rust. I can't hide that. I think that's an important point to mention here. However, if you can catch the rust like I did in mine early enough, it shouldn't be too bad to get it done, too bad to get it sorted. And I think the final thing which I touched on last time, and which I come to here, is that there is definitely an image problem with the SLK. Although I love them, although you guys out there probably love them as well, which is probably why you're watching this, there is that thing they are seen as being a bit softer than the equivalent rivals. So it's an interesting one, and it's almost factors into desirability. Are they as desirable as something like a TT or a Z3? Possibly not, who knows. But as I say, I love my little SLK. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for commenting. It's been fantastic to see other people's thoughts as well. I've got a few friends that I speak to on a fairly regular basis that also own R170s, and they've sort of said the same things and passed the same comments. So it's nice to know that it's just owners that actually know about these cars saying this, and they know there's this issue with them, but they still love the cars. So thank you again for commenting. If you have anything else to add to this, please do comment below. And as ever, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.